There is a photograph that has never left me. A young soldier, no older than 19, sitting alone in the mud, back against a shattered tree stump, helmet still on his head. His eyes are open. He is not sleeping. And the expression on his face, that hollow 1,000-yard stare, tells you everything that words never could. This is the Western Front. And what happened here between 1914 and 1918 was so horrific, so incomprehensible, that even a century later, we are still struggling to understand it. Today we are going to look at it, really look at it, not through statistics, not through the sanitized language of history textbooks, but through the photographs that the war tried to hide, the images that governments censored, the moments that soldiers carried in their nightmares until the day they died. But before we begin, there is something about this war that almost nobody talks about. Something that changes the way you see every single photograph in this video. Stay with me, because by the end, you will never think about World War I the same way again. A war nobody predicted would look like this. When the war began in August 1914, the generals on both sides believed it would be over by Christmas. They had trained for open cavalry charges, for clean battles fought across green fields, for the kind of warfare that looked good in paintings. What they got instead was something no military mind had imagined, something that no training could prepare a human being for. Within weeks of the first shots being fired, the Western Front had collapsed into a system of trenches stretching over 700 kilometers, from the English Channel all the way to the Swiss border. And in that narrow strip of churned, poisoned, waterlogged earth, over 4 years of fighting would kill more than 3 million men. But here is what the numbers never tell you. Here is what the photographs do. The mud. Look at the ground in these images. Really look at it. The mud of Flanders and the Somme was not ordinary mud. It was a living nightmare, a thick, sucking, bottomless soup of clay and rainwater and decomposing matter that swallowed men whole. Soldiers reported watching their comrades disappear into shell craters filled with this mud, unable to pull them out, unable to reach them in time. One British officer wrote in his diary that he watched a horse sink completely out of sight in under 4 minutes. A horse, gone. Men slept in it, ate beside it, carried their dead through it, fought for months over the same few hundred meters of it. And for what? At the Battle of Passchendaele in 1917, the Allied forces advanced approximately 8 kilometers, at a cost of around 300,000 casualties. 8 kilometers. That is roughly the distance of a short morning jog. But here is the part that nobody told the men who survived, the part that makes these photographs almost unbearable to look at. Most of them had absolutely no idea how little ground they were gaining. The scale of the failure was hidden from them, deliberately, systematically, by the men who commanded them. The weapons that changed everything. There's a reason the Western Front looked the way it did, and it comes down to a catastrophic mismatch between the technology that existed to kill and the tactics that generals refused to abandon. By 1914, military technology had made a leap that military thinking had not. The machine gun could fire 400 to 600 rounds per minute. A single well-positioned gun crew could cut down an entire advancing regiment in less than 3 minutes. Artillery shells could now land with devastating accuracy from miles away. Poison gas, and first used by the Germans in April 1915, could kill a man slowly and invisibly, filling his lungs with liquid from the inside. And yet, the orders sent to the men in the trenches were almost always the same. Fix bayonets, go over the top, walk forward, hold your line. Look at the faces in these photographs. These men knew. They knew exactly what they were walking into. Some of them wrote letters home the night before a major offensive. Not letters of hope, but letters of farewell. Carefully folded, quietly handed to a friend, just in case. Shell shock, the wound. they refuse to acknowledge here is something that will stay with you. By the end of the war, over 80,000 British soldiers alone had been officially diagnosed with what they called shell shock, trembling, unable to speak, unable to stop weeping, unable to sleep without screaming. Men who had not been physically wounded at all, but who had been so completely shattered by what they had seen and endured that their minds had simply stopped functioning normally. And the response of the military authorities? Many of these men were accused of cowardice. Some were court-martialed. Over 300 British and Commonwealth soldiers were executed by firing squad during World War I, many of them almost certainly suffering from what we would today call severe PTSD. It was not until 2006 that the British government issued a posthumous pardon for all of them. Think about that, almost 90 years. 90 years before the men who were destroyed by this war were finally, officially, recognized as victims rather than criminals. What the photographs could not show here is the darkest truth about the images in this video. As terrible as they are, as raw and devastating as these photographs feel, they are not the worst of it, because the worst of it could not be photographed. The worst of it happened in the seconds and minutes that no camera captured. The sound of a gas attack rolling toward a trench at night. The screams from no man's land that lasted for hours, sometimes days, because the wounded could not be reached and the living could not risk going out to help them. The moment a soldier recognized the face of his brother or his childhood friend among the dead, there was a British soldier named Wilfred Owen, a poet, who survived the Flanders and Passchendaele and went back again. And in a poem he wrote shortly before he was killed in action, just 1 week before the armistice, he described a gas attack with a line that has never left anyone who has read it. He described the dying man's face as like a devil's face, sick and white. And he ended with a warning directed at all of us, at every generation that would come after, who might be tempted to send young men to die for words like glory and honor and duty. He called it the old lie. Why these photographs matter. We are now more than 100 years from the end of the Great War. The last veteran died in 2012. There's no one left alive who remembers the mud, the gas, the sound of the guns. All that remains are the photographs, the letters, the poems, the names carved into stone memorials in small towns across Britain and France and Australia and Canada and Germany. Towns where, after the war, there were almost no young men left. Every photograph in this video is a document, a piece of evidence.